For this reason, the Bush administration has needed to produce a major effort to propagate the idea that a connection between Saddam Hussein and the September 11 attacks in fact existed.
George Bush wanted me to come back with a report that said Iraq did this.
Secretary of the Treasury Paul O'Neill decided to leave the administration when he became aware of their true intents in the Middle East.
For the Bush administration is that plans that already existed for regime change in Iraq had to be justified. They couldn't just go in without public support. The public support was created by connecting Saddam Hussein to those fears of terrorism. The fear generated by 9/11, the fear of terrorist networks, has to be transferred to Iraq. That is, the American people have to learn to be as afraid of Saddam Hussein as they are of Osama bin Laden.
Why would Saddam Hussein risk being involved with Al-Qaeda?
The disturbing thing is to see how well-organized and repetitive propaganda, driving the point home into people's minds, can be so effective.
We cannot wait for the final proof, the smoking gun, that could come in the form of a mushroom cloud.
At the end of World War II, the American soldiers recovered from the residence of Hermann Goering a vast collection of art pieces the Nazi leader had been removing from the museums of the conquered cities.
Not content with robbing people of their freedom and their lives, the Nazis tried to make off with their symbols of culture.
In 2003, it was the Iraqis who showed the world the remnants of their immense artistic heritage, which had been destroyed or stolen by the Americans. At a time when humanitarian groups were not allowed in the destroyed cities yet, it appears that art dealers and merchants with a close relationship to the Pentagon had free access to and from the country. The most precious and rare artifacts dating back to the Sumerian civilization were either destroyed or stolen. Entire libraries from all branches of knowledge were emptied in a matter of days.
Coming to steal the most precious books we have here. They are specialists. They know the value of these books.
And whatever was not stolen was burnt and turned to ashes by special chemical components. It was as if someone wanted to prevent a future rebirth of the nation by depriving the new generations from their country's immense cultural heritage. Some of the most famous archaeological sites were also destroyed with no apparent reason. In the meantime, the Bush administration convinced Congress to approve the extraordinary printing of $20 billion in cash to be used for the reconstruction of Iraq.
We will help them to restore basic services, such as electricity and water, and to build new schools, roads, and medical clinics.
360 tons of $100 bills were physically transported to Iraq in single packages worth a few $1,000,000 each. As soon as they arrived, the packages were stacked in the basement of Saddam's former residence. The money was officially under the responsibility of the international coalition, but it was in fact the Pentagon that handled and controlled it in the person of the so-called American proconsul, Paul Bremer. As soon as Bremer took charge of Baghdad, he declared Iraq a territory where the Iraqi law was no longer valid, but he didn't put it under the American law either.
In a free fraud zone, you can steal anything you like. And that was what they did.
Yet the only companies allowed to participate in the no-bid contracts were Halliburton and its subsidiaries, which ended up getting the entire share of the pie.
When the vice president is your former CEO, you're going to get the access that other people don't.
But this isn't all. All the money literally disappeared in a couple of months, without a single school, hospital, or bridge ever being built. This generated a monstrous paradox in which the same people who had just been destroying the country, the Vice President and the Secretary of Defense, were now managing and assigning the money for the reconstruction. In the meantime, the Pentagon had registered the disappearance of over $2 trillion in one fiscal year alone.
When DOD's own auditors say the department cannot account for $2.3 trillion in transactions in 1 year alone.
It is,
it's a terrible record, and it's preposterous that the Defense Department doesn't know what's happened to this money.
In the meantime, tens of thousands of mercenaries have reached Iraq from all over the world, perfectly organized by specific companies, but paid for by the American taxpayer. They have found in Iraq the ideal ground to express their vocation. This is a group of mercenaries from Aegis, a British security company, having fun while shooting people in the streets around Baghdad. Also, regular soldiers often showed a very peculiar interpretation of the rules of engagement.
all right? I don't want to hear it.
In this case, the time between the warning shot and the actual shooting is no more than 3 seconds. Most likely the driver, who had the sun in his eyes, didn't even realize that soldiers were shooting at him. The most shameful moment came with a publication of a series of photographs depicting American soldiers inflicting all kinds of tortures on Iraqi prisoners. The so-called Abu Ghraib scandal shook the world. The Pentagon maintained that it was a problem limited to a few bad apples. Pulitzer Prize winner Seymour Hersh, who had denounced to the world the horrors of My Lai, later found that the torture techniques used in Iraq had been approved directly by Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld. A secret document named Copper Green described and encouraged techniques of physical restraint and sexual humiliation for the prisoners. The document suggested in particular the use of the fear of dogs, removal of garments, and forcing the prisoners for long periods of time in stressing positions. It was in fact a true philosophy, intended to pervade every level of the army, from the lowest to the highest. A philosophy that had nothing to do with the installation of democracy, but betrayed instead the same principles of superiority and desire for domination that had been outlined in the Project for the New American Century, signed by the neocons. This is what Michael Ledeen, a leading neoconservative, wrote in one of his books. Creative destruction is our middle name, both within our own society and abroad. We tear down the old order every day, from business to science, literature, art, architecture, and cinema, to politics and the law. Our enemies have always hated this whirlwind of energy and creativity, which menaces their traditions, whatever they may be, and challenges them for their inability to keep pace. Seeing America undo traditional societies, they fear us, for they do not wish to be undone. They must attack us in order to survive, just as we must destroy them to advance our historic mission.
God damn.
Sucks to be your ass, you fucking mooge motherfucker.
Woo-hoo! What mosque?
Yeah, bitch, you're fucking gone. Hey, at least. What is it or what? Dude, look at we fucked those people all the shit down there.
Dude, those two people.
You see who pulled up in the white car? I shot that dude in the white car, ran into the fucking building.
The end is near. And all these people, they will learn to stop worshiping Allah and start worshiping the 2,000-pound JDM that's about to fuck their whole world up.
Did you see that? That is fucking sweet!
Seen from the sky, life and death become like elements of a video game, played by people no longer capable of realizing they are dealing with the lives of other human beings.
Range auto. Alright, got auto range on it. Roger. Yeah, Roger. Engaging. Got him. Good. Second one. Hit the other one. Hit the truck. Go to the right, see if anyone's moved by the truck. Go ahead and store that. Auto range store. There's another guy underneath. Move right there. Good. Firing. Hit it. Target 4. We're taking the other truck out. Roger. Wait for move by the truck. Movement right there. Roger. He's wounded. Hit him. Hit the truck. Hit the truck in him. Go forward of it and hit him. Roger.
I got numerous individuals on the road. You want me to take those out? Take them out. 10 seconds. Roger. Impact.
More than 1 million Iraqi civilians have been killed in the first 5 years of war. Entire towns have been erased from the map. Before the war, Fallujah counted more than 350,000 people. Today it is a land of ruins that is being covered with cement to contain the devastating effects of radioactivity caused by the use of depleted uranium. More than 4 million Iraqis have been displaced, and they won't be able to return home simply because their homes no longer exist. Industries are gone, infrastructures are devastated, schools, shops, museums, and gardens are but a distant memory. After the $20 billion in cash meant for the reconstruction was stolen, children don't even have enough water to drink.
لا تنكري وجهي فأنت حبيبك وورود مائي وكأس شرابي لا تنكري وجهي فأنت حبيبك وورود مائدتي وكأس شرابي بغداد جئتك كالسفينة متعبة أخفي جراحاتي وراء ثيابي بغداد منذ طفولتي شمسان نايمتان في يهدان